Hello, everyone. Welcome to your Sacred Strategy podcast. All right. So today I desire to talk about this whole concept of getting to $100,000 a year as a coach and healer. Everyone talks about the goal of hitting your 100K year in business. It's that golden benchmark. And the first time you hit it, you feel as if, OMG, I have finally made it. It is a sign. But what I've come to realize from my own experience and from speaking to a lot of my other dearest business besties is that when you undercharge on your way there, and even after that, it's not just that your bank account suffers, your nervous system suffers, your time, the depletion of joy, and your ability to sustain the magic of your medicine also is detrimentally hit as well. So there were many years where I was making 130,000 to 150,000 in my business. And this was going on for a number of years, and I couldn't break that ceiling. I was stuck for almost about 5 years going back and forth between these numbers. And it was starting to get really frustrating because it felt like there was an energetic block from me being able to surpass that number. And from the outside, it looked like a dream. I was having these amazing launches, beautiful branding, a growing, considerate audience, and consistent content was being rolled out, and I was showing up. But behind the scenes, I was so stretched thin. I was exhausted. I was so confused, and it was costing me more than what I was able to give. I was celebrating the fact that I had grown my list to be over 15,000 people. I was hosting every month or every 6 to 8 weeks these $5 3-day devoted circle trainings that I absolutely adored. That also had a $97 upsell where you can get lifetime access for all the videos. And I designed it in a way where I knew I was serving my community well and that I was giving so much value for the experience. But what no one really knew or understood or even would understand, because it's not something that I would share outwardly, is that I was paying for so many other things. And as entrepreneurs, this is what we do, yes? In order for us to continue to grow our business, there were things that I had to pay for, including having a Facebook ad spend, hiring and maintaining monthly an ad strategist who was going ahead and making sure my ads were doing well and we were getting lower cost per leads. I had a team that I was paying for. I had a suite of software platforms that made my business run smoothly. I had my virtual assistant and I had to create gorgeous design assets and copy and content. And so there's a lot of my time being spent in doing that as well as my brain power in ensuring that everything was being done in a really fluid way. And so you can imagine I was doing copywriting, strategy, launching planning, the energetic holding of the containers, the delivering, being able to be there as a coach and as a teacher and as a guide and a space holder for my clients. And while I adore my clients, I adore them. I would fight to the end for them. And I was proud of the work that we were doing. Let's talk real, which is that I was working more than ever before and I was starting to really feel the burnout. And that part truly broke my heart. And it almost broke my will to continue because the fact of the matter was that it was so much that I was giving, and there was so much less that I was financially receiving, and I couldn't make ends meet. And this is what no one talks about, that you could be making that $100,000 and you don't know who to turn to because you don't want to tell anyone that even though you quote have made it and that you're constantly making 10K months, that you seem to not be able to still pay your bills. It's the financial plateau that looks like success, but it often feels like depletion. We focus so much on the end result that we forget the lasting effects that might not be serving us at all. And so, therefore, there's this blurry boundary between service and self sacrifice. And whether we want to or not, we're perpetuating this idea and this trap of being a struggling healer and coach. It's what happens when our pricing is misaligned. And it's not just about the market, but it's actually about our energy, our boundaries, and our business model. And the fact is that systems are sexy as F because it helps us get really clear about our business model. And being a badass CEO isn't only about how we wow our community by helping our clients on their epic healing journey. Being a badass CEO is being intentional with our decisions and our actions that actually ensure our needs are being met and our business is growing in a way that is sustainable. And there are particular strategies and decisions that you can make your life that much easier. So, when you undercharge at this stage, you feel like you should be fine, but you're secretly burnt out, and I feel you. You are not alone in this. I know so many people who are in this situation. You have some support, but you're still the one holding all the strings, having to make all the micro decisions, and having to make sure you know everything that is going on. And so your brain is full. Your brain is also managing a million tasks, both the client experience as well as team delegation. You're also managing admin, growth strategy, emotional support, visibility, marketing, and so much more. You show up powerfully for others, but you don't feel held for yourself. You don't feel as if someone is holding you, celebrating you, encouraging you, reminding you, and providing you with small little tweaks and steps to help you make this sustainable. What happens is this leads to things like resentment and feeling guilty that you're feeling resentful and frustrated. It also means that there's an increased amount of mental fogginess and decision fatigue. And so you might find yourself having so much intention to get a lot of work done. And all of a sudden, you have a full day that's gone by and you weren't able to do anything because you are so tired and burnt out and you have no motivation to go ahead and move forward. You might also then begin to realize that you're dimming your intuitive channels, that you can't hear the soul of your business, and you're making choices from a place of fear and scarcity rather than from an intentional space of deep sovereignty and reverence. And there's also this push pull of wanting to grow, but also being scared of what it'll cost you. And so, for those of you that are listening that have not necessarily hit that $100,000 mark, I don't want this to be yet another indicator and another way of you being conditioned in being scared to grow. If anything, this is an amazing time for you to start really recognizing the strategies to create sustainability. That could be one of your main guiding principles is not only freedom, but also sustainability and security and clarity and spaciousness for your work in your life and in your business. And if you are in a space and season of your life where you're making more than 150K, there's still going to be those moments, right? You know, of that tension where the growth is required, which means that there's additional systems that are needed to make everyone's life easier. And therefore, then the onboarding of additional team members that are at that caliber of really being able to take ownership so that you're stepping more and more into your space of genius is required. Okay, so let me give you an example of this. I'm going to talk about a client of mine. So, when this client came into Lush Business Mastermind, she was fully booked and beloved by her clients. But she was exhausted and unsure of how she was going to sustain this, meaning that she had so many one on one clients, but there was only oh so much more time left. And every time she offered up something else, like something that was based on a group or a retreat, she sold out very quickly, but there was only oh so much capacity in her. And so she had grown steadily and quickly, building a reputation as a powerful healer and psychic. But she reached the threshold where the energetic and financial exchange no longer felt in alignment because she could not sustain the amount of hours that was required for her in her business. And so her pricing hadn't evolved alongside the depth and the demand of her work. And so my client shares in her own words, I was incredibly busy, but financially that wasn't really reflected in a way that I felt was a fair energetic exchange of my time and energy. And so through Lush, she began to untangle this. and naming the real cost of undercharging. Because it's not just about, again, naming a price, it's about really understanding for ourselves mentally, emotionally, and energetically what were the tangible real life effects of undercharging to help us then step into that frequency of charging the price that feels really aligned, that would create some time, security, and freedom. She then adjusted her pricing to reflect her gifts. But most importantly, it wasn't just the pricing. She also created new systems that made her time so much more valuable, and she was able to get her energy back. Now she was able to take vacations, go to music festivals, hang out with her partner more. There was so much more time, and she was making more money. And she was blown away because she did not believe that it was possible. In that time period, she also worked on launching a sacred offer, which was aligned with her values. And again, it brought in more income in a much more sustainable way. So there was more reoccurring revenue that helped her feel more at ease. So she not only shifted her income, but she reclaimed her joy, her time, and her nervous system began to regulate itself again. So, if this feels like this might resonate with you, and if you're feeling stretched thin at your current income level, or you're creeping towards that 100K and feeling the edge of fray, and you're like, Sora, I get it. I'm starting to really understand it. And I don't want to get to this point that you're talking about that you were in for years. I'm here to help you, right? I don't want you to be in that for years. I want you to identify it before it actually happens. And if you are in it, I see you, I get it, and this is your invitation to begin to shift this. And so I created a free resource to help you start untangling this right now. And it's called I Wish I Could Charge That, a 5-minute pricing portal to shift your beliefs and name your number. It's quick, it's free, and it's going to help you identify what's holding you back from pricing with power. And so the link is in the show notes. And remember, you're allowed to be well resourced. You're allowed to profit from your purpose and your dream vision. You're allowed to be held by your business, not just holding it all for everyone else. And so, together as badass CEOs in the realm of life coaching, healing, and space holding, let's build businesses that are sustainable, sacred, and deeply nourishing for us and for those that we serve. All right, Divine One, I cannot wait to speak to you next week.